Hey everyone, I wanted to thank you for your purchase of my overlays, and I wanted to assure you that these are the sorts of overlays that I use in my daily workflow, and they were created with a real camera, real lenses, and real light. Nothing in this is AI generated. It is 100% me. And so I want to thank you, and I want to give you a few tips on how to use them. First of all, they are created to add a sense of whimsy and a sense of mystery, sometimes magic, if you will, to your images. I try to use them in such a way as to enhance the light that's already there, and they will always look best in backlit images that were created with light flowing into the lens already. That said, I like to use them as you would any other creative overlay, like textures, where the image may not have any texture overlay on the image originally, but it adds a certain vibe to the image, and so that's what these are. So I have a picture of my daughter here, and this was created in a dreamy way. It was using a lens baby lens, and I want to add some magical bokeh to it. So I brought a few over here, and I have some from this set to look at, and this one has a bit of blur to it, so I'm going to show you how I would apply it to this image. This one may not be the best one, but we'll see how it works. The thing I like to do is to select everything and then copy and paste it over on top of the image and then change the blend mode. This will not work if you're using Canva or any program that doesn't allow you to use layers and blend modes. So you can use Photopea, you can use GIMP, you can use, I think, Pixelmator or Pixelmator Pro, I believe, on one Photo Raw. Anything that lets you use layers and blend modes should work. So in Photoshop here, I'm going to select all by hitting Command or Control A, Command or Control C, and then I'm going to go back to my image and hit Command or Control V. Now, this is not perfect yet. I use the Command or Control T to transform. Now I wanted to see if this is going to work. So I'm going to go to screen mode, and I'm going to select it again, Command or Control T, and I'm going to kind of bring it out and determine how I want to add it to the image. And as you see here, I did not apply it to the entire image. I kind of wanted just a hint of it, but we do have a problem to fix. There is a line right here, and that happens often if you're using light overlays that tend to go to the edge, but it's easily fixable, and I'll show you how. We just go down here to the layer mask icon and add one. Make sure it's highlighted. Choose our brush tool, and then we want the opposite color. So this is white. So we want our swatch that's in front to be black. If it isn't already, you can either click on this icon here or you can switch it, but we want it to be black. And then we want to check our brush settings. I have it at 30% opacity, and I could use that, but I think I want to go to 100%, and I want a very soft brush. So I want my hardness to be all the way at 0. And I'm going to zoom in here, and I can just start to softly blend that away. I can take away the bokeh ball that's at the bottom here, or I can just blend the edge. And I want to go all along it to make sure that there isn't any edge that's getting in the way. And you see how that just adds a little magical bokeh to the image. Now I can make this bigger, I can make it softer. I can change the blend mode, maybe screen. Probably screen is the best one for this, and I can lower the opacity if I want to. Maybe I just want a hint of it. It's all about adding a little bit of jewelry to your image and not overpowering the image. Sometimes you create images that have some bokeh in it and it's just not very attractive. You could use this method to make it a little bit better. So let's try another bokeh overlay. I've got a few here. That was the one we just did. So let's look at this one. This one's a little bigger. So again, Command A, Command C, or you could use Control, back to my image, and I'm going to paste it. Oops, I didn't finish copying, so I have to go back to this one, Command A, Command C, and then back to my image, Command V. Transform this to fit, and this is a bit more wild, but again, screen mode. And then I want to just sort of move it around and determine how I want this to be. Now, of course, I have some going over her face, which is maybe not what I want. So again, I can add a layer mask using my soft brush at 100% opacity, but very soft. I can go in here and I can remove it off of her face and just make it fit just like I would like, and lower the opacity a bit to have it blend in. One thing to note, when you lower the opacity, it does get a little bit more muddied. So you might want to choose a bokeh overlay that already is blurred and keep it at 100%. Or you can lower the opacity if you want it to blend in, but it will be more transparent and less apparent and less sparkly, if you will. But we could do it this way. So that is number 2. There are 50 different options in this pack, and I wanted to show you one more option. This overlay is quite a bit more soft and it is blurred. So this one is going to be more like sun pouring in. Again, Command A or Control A, Command or Control C, and then back to my image. And I'm going to paste it on there. Now, because it has the interesting part of it over on the right-hand side, I'm going to actually flip this. So I'm going to right-click and go to Flip Horizontal, and then fit it to the picture here, and then do Screen again. So now I can adjust it more, I can turn it, I can change it, I can move it, and that adds a golden glow to the corner without having the obvious bokeh balls. This was shot again with a vintage lens, but I did blur this one a little bit in Photoshop, so you have a version that's a little bit less over the top. There's 50 unique files, they're all a little bit different, but this is an option if you want to just add that golden glow. The last one I wanted to show you is a bit more of a busy option. This overlay is a bit more busy and has a little bit more of a defined style. It was shot with the Pentacon 1.8 and it has 6-sided bokeh, but it can add some interesting effects to an image that you may not see somewhere else. So if I add that to this image, I'm going to again transform it. And then use screen mode again. Usually screen mode is going to get you there, but you could try overlay, you could try a lot of different ones that might suit you. But again, we're going to want to check those edges and make sure that everything is blended, and then also to mask it off of any place where it is not looking good for our image. This might be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more modern and edgy and maybe not the best for this, but I wanted to show you one more trick. If you like how the light is, but you don't like the shape of the bokeh, you can blur it in Photoshop and in other programs as well. So while the layer is selected that has the bokeh overlay, you can go to Filter, Blur, and I usually just choose Gaussian Blur. And then you can choose how much of it you want it to show, from completely original to progressively more blurred. And if you go all the way, it just becomes a blurry golden light that is in your image. So that's another way to modify it. The last one I want to show you is from my favorite Dream lens. It is just my favorite. I want to see if I can find it here. Which one haven't we used? This one. This was taken with the Dream lens, the Canon Dream Lens 0.95, which is the aperture is 0.95, really beautiful. And again, I'm going to select it all, go back to my image and paste it, and then transform it. You can see that the bokeh overlays are high resolution. I'm working on a smaller image that I just downloaded quick from my Dropbox, but you can see that they're pretty high resolution, and I love this bokeh effect. And of course you can change the size by resizing it on there. And again, we have this line of demarcation here, so we'll want to add a layer mask, and with our brush just kind of soften that out, being careful to zoom in. And then you can lower the opacity if you want to make the transition a little bit less apparent. You could go to like 30% or 15%, and then continue to sort of scrub along there to make sure that the transition is very smooth and that we don't see a defined line there like like that. And that adds a very dreamy bokeh to it. And I'm putting this over window light, and that may not be what you want to do. You might not get this kind of bokeh inside normally, but if you have fairy lights or if you have Christmas lights or something, bokeh indoors is actually quite common. It just adds a magicalness to the image. Magicalness. It adds a lot of fun to the image. So that is how to use them. We've covered using it by copying and pasting it over to your image. We've covered how you can blur it to make it work if it's not working. I've covered how you can add a layer mask and soften any edges that happen. And the preferred blend mode is usually screen mode, although you could try overlay or soft light, or sometimes pin light or lighten mode is also another one that might work depending on how your image looks. If you have any questions, let me know. And thank you again for your purchase.